Welcome to the Do Good X podcast, a sanctuary from the entrepreneur grind. Hosts Kimberly Danielle and Stephen Lewis, advocates for impactful entrepreneurship, guide you on the path where purpose meets business. Join us to slow down, reconnect, and explore the challenges of under-resourced entrepreneurs, uncovering the unique journey of building businesses that make a difference. Now, your host.
Welcome to the Do Good X podcast. My name is Stephen Lewis, and I'm a catalyst for positive change in communities and businesses. And for over 2 decades, I have inspired leaders and entrepreneurs to live and work on purpose with intention, faith, and a commitment to their well-being. And I'm joined here today with my co-host, Kimberly Danielle. Hey, Kimberly.
Hi, Stephen. Here we are again with the good people. I am Kimberly Danielle, and I am a community builder, a coach, and communications strategist who comes from generations of faith-driven leaders and entrepreneurs who believe that our purpose should drive us to contribute to the common good. And today we are going to bring back a conversation that is important for entrepreneurs who are in the early stages of their business and really looking at how you can grow and how you can scale.
Yeah, we chat with Sweta Govani, a go-to-market expert who breaks down what it takes to move from zero to your first million in revenue. Now, Sweta shares practical strategies for finding a product market fit, overcoming common barriers, and really getting into the mindset of your customer.
And Sweta, she just has such lovely energy.
She does.
And so, she comes with a lot of expertise, and she is also very, very positive, encouraging, and clear in practical ways how you grow, but not just for growth's sake, which I really, really appreciate. She talks about sustainable growth that is driven by intention, and it is driven by purpose, which is what we are all about.
Yeah, entrepreneurs are encouraged to stay true to their vision, breaking through barriers and creating impactful businesses that resonate with their passion and their target market. And what she often kind of shared with us is that many entrepreneurs fail to identify their ideal customer, leading to a mismatch in products and wasted resources. So founders must know who they are building for, engaging with potential customers early to validate their ideas, refine their offerings, and to create solutions that meet the needs of the market. And so Sweta is really working with entrepreneurs in this unique space of going from $0 to $1 million. This is a critical stage, but it's not typically where go-to-market experts focus their work. It's typically with businesses who are already generated beyond $1 million.
Yes. So if you are in that early stage, or you are looking for ideas on how to connect with your audience and scale responsibly, this episode definitely has some insights that you don't want to miss. So stay tuned. And let's dive in. I am excited about our guest and our conversation today because I think there will be some jewels that are dropped that you will be able to use in your business. So we are excited and delighted to have Sweta Govani join us today. Sweta is a go-to-market expert specializing specifically in the $0 to the $1 million stage. You don't get that often, let me say. People typically don't focus on that particular stage. But after 15 plus years of working with early stage startups, she discovered a mission, helping underestimated tech or tech-enabled startup founders get their 100 happy paying customers so that they can build thriving businesses on their own terms. Nobody else's terms, your own. And she does this through her membership program, Founder-Led Marketing Club, also known as FLMC. And in FLMC, smart, supportive founders get one-to-one support from Sweta and peers in a small group setting via Slack and live sessions. And through this and beyond, Sweta has advised or supported hundreds of founders in that same stage, the $0 to $1 million stage in journey. And she is passionate about supporting these underestimated founders in building a customer-funded business that generates life-changing wealth for them. We are very excited about this conversation, Sweta. Thank you so much for taking the time to connect with us and to share your story. And it's wonderful that we were connected via a mutual friend who I happened to just meet on LinkedIn. So yeah, side note, LinkedIn can be a very valuable relationship building tool. So let's just start out with focusing on the $0 to $1 million in revenue. You've achieved incredible success in helping these founders to go from $0 to $1 million, and sometimes in just 1 year, or getting close to that in just 1 year. So while many resources cater to established businesses already generating revenue, you focus on this specific, unique, often overlooked group, founders starting from scratch. So what inspired you to really dedicate your business to supporting underestimated founders, specifically at this stage?
Oh my gosh, where do I begin? There's a lot to unpack in that question. So I think you mentioned at least three things, right? There's the underestimated part, the founder part, and the 0 to 1 part. So the underestimated and founder part, frankly, goes back to my own personal life. So I personally self-identify as underestimated. I'm a woman, I'm a person of color, and I am an immigrant. I was born and raised in India. And I moved to the US when I was 13 years old. So I have enough of a memory of being, raised in a largely patriarchal society and being underestimated there as a woman. I had shared recently this story that came back to me about when I think I was about 10, max 12 years old, because it was before I moved. It was one of the first memories that at least I have when someone asked me, what do you want to do when you grow up? And it was a young boy about my age who had asked me that. And I sort of just blurted out, I want to be a businesswoman. And he literally started laughing at me, because women are not supposed to own their own businesses. And that memory is one of the first memories I have where I remember being very explicitly underestimated. And it has stuck with me since then. And it comes back in waves, back and forth. It's now decades ago, but I still remember it. And I don't remember his name. I don't remember what I said in return or how I behaved, but it stuck with me. And so that piece has always been a key driver for me for wanting to prove people wrong. And that's the whole definition of underestimated, right? It's not that you're not capable. It's that the society and the world views you as less than. And so that was the key driver for the underestimated. And the entrepreneurship part is, Kimberly, much like you, I come from a generation of entrepreneurs. So my grandfather has this really inspiring story where he was born in extreme poverty in a tiny village in India. And my dad and his siblings actually also experienced some of that in their early childhood. And my generation is the first generation where we were born and got to actually experience what it's like when entrepreneurship breaks the cycle of poverty in your family. And so I've seen the power of that. And I still get goosebumps when I think about it, because it's not lost on me that I could have easily been in that tiny little village working on a farm, and that would have been the end of my life. That would have been the beginning and the end of my life. And I'm so grateful for the opportunities that entrepreneurship and my grandfather and my parents getting into entrepreneurship have opened up for me. So I get a little emotional when I think about it. But it's a very personal story for why I do what I do. And I really believe in it, just like a lot of the other things that people believe in that drives them. This is, for me, my thing. It's my thing. I believe in the power of entrepreneurship. And the 0 to 1 part came out of, honestly, this is like much more logical reason for it, even though it may not seem like it. I honestly eat my own dog food. So always advise founders the first thing you should do when you think of an idea or you think of the fact that you want to start a business, talk to 100 people who fit within the general description of the type of people you want to help. And so my general description was I wanted to help entrepreneurs. I wanted to help founders. And I had 100 conversations with them. And now it's been thousands. But I started off with 100. And it was so abundantly clear. Nobody wants to touch the zero stage. Nobody wants to go there. I think some of it, just to be fair, is that most marketers actually don't have experience at the zero stage because most marketers are brought in much later. So they don't have the experience. So a lot of times, a lot of my peers would say, oh, I work at 0 to 1 stage, but they'll talk about zero being Series A funded, which, first of all, only 0.05% of startups are even VC backed. And then out of that, you're talking about a tiny fraction of it, right? So it just became clear to me that there was a clear need and one where in very real ways, in terms of there just isn't a lot of people who can help at this stage, and there's not a lot of people who want to help at this stage. So I found my mission, and it was very clear to me that this is where I wanted to make it work. Yeah, that's my story.
And so for those who are not familiar with what a go-to-market strategy is, can you define what that is?
Oh my gosh. Yes. It's one of those jargon words that gets thrown out a lot. Oh my gosh. So go to market, the way I think about it, and I will say there's a few different ways to kind of interpret it, to be fair. But the way we'll focus on the 0 to 1 stage, right? So at the 0 to 1 stage, what go to market means is that we're thinking really holistically about how am I going to get me as a founder, going to get my earliest, what I call happy paying customers for this new solution, whether it's product or service, whatever combination that you might need to put together in the early days. How will you get happy paying customers for that? And I say holistic because it's really important to think about the fact that it's not just the channels or tactics or marketing or sales work you'll do. It's also thinking about what is it that you're even going to sell, right? What will you sell in the early days when you're starting from zero? How will you talk about it? What is the positioning going to be? What will you do from the perspective of actually being able to deliver the service? So if you were at a bigger company, people would call it cross-functional because it cuts across product, marketing, sales, customer success. But as a founder, it's just you. So just think about all the things you'll do to actually get the customers, sell them something, deliver deep value, right? All the things. So it's really taking a very holistic approach of how to get and keep customers.
Can you talk about what are some best practices that entrepreneurs should keep in mind, specifically when developing their go-to-market strategy so that it aligns with their purpose and it aligns with their growth potential as a business and as an entrepreneur?
Ooh, okay. I really like how you framed that. So there's two parts of that question. I want to answer kind of this applies to everyone no matter what. And then there's the purpose part of it that I think is really important. So when I think about, I sat back and I looked at all the founders that I've supported and sort of what are some of the big things that people come to me for. One of the first steps that everybody takes when they work with me is at this point I've codified my process. So they come up with a draft plan. And it's to address exactly the problem you're talking about here, right? Is there's a lot of jargon. And so I always tell people, don't worry about getting it right. We're not getting A+ this year. All we're trying to do is take everything that's in your brain and put it down on paper, right? I want you to learn the jargon and so we can speak the same language when we're talking about that. And I looked at all of this. So I've looked at so many of these now at this point. I should count them, but I haven't counted them yet. And one of the big things that stood out to me, and there's a video that we can point people to where I break down the 5 most common mistakes that I've seen people make when it comes to go-to-market. But there's one in particular that often is the root cause. And it's that you actually haven't clarified who your customers are. What are you building for? And sometimes it happens because we got excited about an idea, but we forgot about who would that actually help. But sometimes it could be for a slew of other reasons where we get excited about an idea because we think there's lots of people who could use it, but we still can't pinpoint the one person who we're going to sell it to first, right? We struggle with that one, making that practical thing, right? If we're visionaries, entrepreneurs tend to be visionaries. So we struggle with the practical part of it. So that's the big thing that I would say is really, 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 really hard. Push yourself. What's one person who's within my reach somehow? It doesn't have to be someone in your network. It just has to be someone that you can reach out to on LinkedIn. It can be strangers. Kimberly, you and I got connected through strangers. We can do it. Everybody has access now, right, to the few social media platforms. We can all do it. So just be specific about it and try to think about what's in it for this person? Why would they respond to a cold outreach from me? What might I be able to do? And if you're a purpose-driven entrepreneur, this part is generally easier because just tie it back to your purpose. Just stay true to your purpose. What is the reason you're doing what you're doing? And who are you trying to serve and help through that process? I've noticed that big trend where mission-driven or purpose-driven founders tend to be able to answer this question so much faster because it's clear to them. There's a reason they have lived experience or they have this fire inside of them for a problem they're trying to solve. So it seems like it's in you. I believe in you. The answer lives within you. You just have to ask yourself, whom do I want to solve what problem for? And then try to find just one person to talk who will agree to talk to you. Before you know it, the one will be 100. It will happen. You just have to stay true to yourself. And one of the other things I'll say about purpose-driven too is the first step in the process, before we even talk about all the other components of the go-to-market, I always encourage founders to do is sit and reflect and try to ask yourself, what is the type of business that I want to build? I file this under what I call parameters. What are your go-to-market parameters? What is the type of business you want to build? And what are your absolute no-goes? Do not make sacrifices on your purpose. You can build a business on your terms in a way that moves your mission and your purpose forward. You do not need to make any sacrifices on that. Money and mission are not mutually exclusive. It's doable. You can do it. But you just have to start with that as a deal breaker.
For founders who are unfamiliar with go-to-market strategies, what are some essential resources or learning paths that you suggest they start with?
Oh, that's a good one. I'll be honest, I've not found very many go-to-market resources. If you go and Google, you won't find very many good ones that are targeted at the 0 to 1 stage. They tend to focus on go-to-market as a function within bigger organizations. So I would caution you not to follow those, actually, which I think is a really, really important thing. And then the second thing also, actually, if you start researching, you'll probably find all these like overnight success stories of startups. Do not pay attention to those. Those are never full stories. Always try to figure out which of these does it actually apply to me. Do not look for growth hacks. That is also not going to help. So what I would recommend is really try to figure out the most basic business fundamental things. So there's a lot of resources out there. One in particular that I like is the Lean Canvas. We can link to it. I think that's a good one to just think about your business. I don't think it's helpful, honestly, in today's day and age to have like a 10-page business plan. So just start with a simple one-pager when you're just thinking through like what are all the assumptions around my business. And then when it comes to the go-to-market part of it, that's where you're kind of double clicking on just go-to-market, right? At that point, I'm more than happy. I'm actually just about to load this. I'll share it with you all. I just did a session recently on how to validate your idea with real customers. And actually cross off validate and say pursue your idea. You can do it. Just start getting customers. And in it, I go over some of the fundamental aspects of go-to-market as well. So that might be a good resource to get started. And then when you're really into the customer stuff, I would say, like, really try to get into the shoes of your customers and talking to them. One of my favorite books is The Mom Test. It is one of the best books out there. I read it in a weekend, which I rarely do with books, by the way. I literally couldn't put it down. It's one of the best books to just figure out what's the right way to talk to your customers. How do you do essentially customer discovery, but do it in a way where you can get honest answers from people versus basically asking your mom, what do you think about my idea? And she's, of course, going to say, I love it, hon. Right? So I think those are some of the best resources that I would recommend to get started and really ground yourself in your customers. So do a simple business plan, then figure out a way to get on the path to getting real customers and start having conversations.
Thank you for listening to the Do Good X podcast. To continue the conversation or access our resources, visit www.dogoodx.org. Join us again for conversations that will nourish your soul, ignite your dreams, and empower you to build an impactful business, one intentional step at a time. Until then, keep striving, thriving, and doing good.